Hello from Seoul! What is your favorite kimchi dish? It's hard to name it, right? But for me, I always pick kimchi stew without hesitation. You may try to make it once, but somehow it wasn't so tasty or at least different from what you expect. But don't worry about it. It's not because you are a bad cook. It's all my fault. I should have made this video earlier. Anyways, today I'll show you 2 different ways to make perfect kimchi stew. Okay, let's get started. Today, I'm gonna keep it simple. You will be needed kimchi, pork, your favorite green onion, not mine, onion, tofu, and chili pepper. You can skip onion, chili, and tofu, but don't even think about skipping green onion. You know this is very important to me. As the name of the dish, the most important ingredient is kimchi. If you have tasty kimchi, it can't go wrong, even if you try to. If your kimchi stew was not tasty, that's because your kimchi wasn't good enough. Not because of you, I guarantee it. Some of you may wanna say, hey Aaron, my kimchi was good. You're wrong. Then I have to say your kimchi was not fermented enough. It should be sour enough when you taste it. Then you might wanna ask, do I have to ferment the kimchi for a long time? My answer is yes. In summer, when the weather is hot, if you keep it at room temperature for a day or 2, it's gonna be ready. This is very important. If you don't have perfect sour kimchi, even the god of Korean food can't help you. I'm serious. Let's cut some kimchi. I got this fabulous red cutting board just for kimchi. Finally, I can cut it on the cutting board gracefully. But don't use your light color cutting board. There's gonna be kimchi stain and the smell won't come off easily. And lastly, your mom will get mad at you. So if you don't have an extra cutting board that says kimchi only, cut kimchi in a bowl using scissors. The next important ingredient is pork. It is best to use the fatty part, so I brought this pork belly, but this is for rich people in Korea because it is the most popular part for Korean barbecue. I know this can make the best kimchi stew, but still, to people in Korea, it's overkill for such a dish as if you're using ribeye steak to make bolognese. For your information, Koreans usually use pork shoulder meat, but I wanna show you the best dish for you guys, so I brought this. And it's not that expensive in your countries, right? Cut the meat into bite-sized pieces. When the fat meets kimchi, it creates amazing flavor. This is a secret, so some restaurants use this fat to make broth, like grind this fat in a blender and put it into the broth. But that's how the restaurant does. It takes a lot of time and it is complicated, so we're not gonna do that. This time, let's talk about the broth. Some people make the stock with kelp, anchovy, and daikon. But the point is, we're gonna make kimchi stew with pork. They can be perfectly harmonized with pork. They are from the sea. But the problem is, making pork broth takes a lot of time. So instead of making broth, I'm gonna use this kind of product, which is Korean beef bone stock. I showed you this in my army stew video, remember? You can also use this dashida, kind of beef stock powder. Yeah, it's an artificial seasoning, but this is one of the secrets of the restaurant flavor. If you don't want to use any products, then I recommend you to use salt물, rice water. It is the water you get after rinsing the rice twice. This is commonly used in Korean stew or soup, so try it. You will get much flavorful soup or stew. Let's start with the first recipe, which is basic. Fry pork belly at medium heat. Do you guys remember that I said when the fat meets kimchi, it creates amazing flavor? So we need to extract the fat out of the meat as possible as we can. But be careful. If you fry it too long, of course you can't get much fat out of it, but it's gonna be too dry for stew. You're not gonna like the texture. Of course you can skip this step and just boil it, but in that case, you should boil the soup for a long time to get all the good flavor from the pork. When you get enough fat from the pork belly, put kimchi in it. Put 1 tablespoon of chili pepper flakes, a half tablespoon of soy sauce, a half tablespoon of fish sauce, a half tablespoon of minced garlic, and stir fry for 3 to 5 minutes. Some of you might burn kimchi in this step because of the seasoning. As I always tell you, it's not a taboo to put water in your food. If it's too dry, just add a little bit of water. Many people hesitate to add water when they cook, but a small amount of water should be fine. It prevents the food from burning and the water will go away eventually. Plus, we are making stew. Water goes in anyways. Let's put 2 cups of rice water and boil it for at least 10 minutes. We got plenty of fat from frying, but still, the longer you boil, the flavor gets deeper. Now, put a half tablespoon of this dashida. This is not necessary, but the taste you expect is coming from this powder, and most restaurants use it. So if you want that taste, put it. But if you want to feel the natural flavor of the ingredients, then you can skip it. While it's boiling, let's prep green onion, chili pepper, and tofu. You can cut them into the size you want. It's all up to you. Normally for doenjang jjigae, soybean soup, we cut tofu into small cubes. But for kimchi stew, people tend to cut it into bigger size. You wanna know why? I don't know why. Please don't ask. Place it into a nice looking pot and add some green onion, chili pepper, tofu, and boil it for 2 more minutes. If you think there's not enough broth or if it's too salty, then you can add more water. Every kimchi has different saltiness, so you can adjust by adding water. There's no rule. Last touch with chili pepper flakes is done. Let's call our taste tester. Claire.
오, 김치찌개 맛있겠다. 오늘은 센스 있게 내가 밥 찾을 줄 알고 미리 밥을 준비해 놨군. 잘했어. 식당 비주얼인데 완전 국물부터. 아, 확실히 이런 걸 먹으면 아저씨 같은 소리가 날 수밖에 없어. 김치찌개. Looks really delicious, right? 진짜 맛있다. 흠잡을 게 하나도 없네. 그냥 완벽해. 그냥 밖에서 사 먹는 맛이랑 완벽하게 똑같아. 완벽히 재현이 됐어. 자기가 그냥 팥까지 준비해가지고 해주니까 진짜 바깥에서 사 먹는 느낌 난다. 기억나지? 내가 옛날에 신혼 때 많이 끓여줬네, 생각해보니까.
그래. 기억 안 나.
우와.
Recipe number 2. This is way closer to the restaurant flavor. The taste you know. I'm sure you will like it more. Why? This is simpler than the first one because I'm not gonna fry the pork belly, which means you don't even need to clean up the stove caused by oil splatter. This time, let's make kimchi stew with this Korean beef bone stock. It will save your time and effort. If you visit Korean groceries or Amazon, you will see some from different brands such as 오뚜기, 백설, or 비비고. You can use whatever you want, just go for the cheapest one, but it has to be at least Korean products. If you use other stuff and it tastes different, I'm not responsible. First of all, pour the broth into the pot and put the pork belly. Again, we need to take out the fat as much as possible. How? Just boil it long. I mean, at least 10 minutes. If you cut the meat into smaller pieces, it will take shorter, but we are using the beef stock, so we will use just as it is. Let's put kimchi in it. This time, no need to stir fry it. Simple, right? And I'm gonna add the same seasonings, but since the stock is already seasoned, I'll skip the soy sauce. Just put 1 tablespoon of chili pepper flakes, a half tablespoon of fish sauce, and a half tablespoon of minced garlic. From now on, you might wanna ask how can we get the restaurant flavor? We skipped some steps and there's nothing special except for the beef bone stock. I'm so glad you brought that up. Here's my kick, lard. If you put a half tablespoon of lard, this will do the magic for you and bring back your memories from Korean restaurants. From now, I recommend you to boil it for at least 10 minutes. If there's not enough broth, you can add more water just like the first one. Remember, the longer you boil, the better it tastes. If your kimchi stew looks like mine, try some. And if you think it's ready, add tofu, green onion, chili pepper, and boil it for 2 more minutes. It's done. I really wonder which one Claire likes more.
Claire? 우와, 뚝배기에 넣으니까 비주얼이 확 산다. 2 김치찌개 for 1 day? It's a lucky day, right? 다시 한 번 더 국물만. 장난 아니네. 우와, 뭐야, 비프 스톡의 힘이야? 라드의 힘이야? 이거는 사먹는 맛인데 그냥 일반 동네 식당에서 사먹는 맛이 아니라 전통이 엄청나게 있는 그런 식당에서 사먹는 맛이라고 할까나? 뭔가 설명할 수 없지만 그 뭔가의 뭔가의 차이가 있어. 아, 이거 너무 어려워. 어쨌든 먹어봐야 돼, 진짜. You should really try this. If you have this kind of roasted dried seaweed, it really goes well with the kimchi stew. Also, if you have egg at home, make some fried egg or egg rolls. They are really, really good together.
Today, I showed you 2 different ways to make perfect kimchi stew. Just remember 2 things. For kimchi stew, you need really sour kimchi and fatty pork. That's it. If you remember these 2, you can be a master of kimchi stew. I wish I could give you a certificate or something. Alright, this is it for today, and I'll see you next time.